Welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at
Okay.
Shaman Jon Rasmussen and specifically his
Right.
post-session rituals,
Yes.
which I have to say they're pretty out there.
Yeah.
They're not your typical
Yeah.
meditate for 5 minutes and journal about
It's so
what you're grateful for.
Yeah, Shaman John really emphasizes that
Right.
the work doesn't stop when you finish the session.
Right.
Like showing up for the session, that's only part of it.
Yeah.
It's the work that you do afterwards that's really gonna
Right.
solidify any changes.
So it's like taking that experience and
Exactly.
weaving it into your actual life.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, he's not working on just one level.
Right.
He's working on the energetic level. He's working on the mythic level.
Wow.
He's working on the psycho-spiritual level.
Okay.
And even the physical aspects of a person.
Okay. So it's
Multi-layered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. And so the rituals help to bridge those different layers.
They do think of it this way.
Okay.
Like during a session, shifts are happening energetically.
Right.
But how do you actually process those and make them tangible in your life?
Okay.
In your thoughts and your beliefs and even in your actions.
Oh, that's interesting.
And he even encourages people to be playful with it, to be
Wow.
creative with this homework.
That's cool. I like that. It kind
Yeah.
of takes the pressure off,
Exactly.
of having to do it right.
Yeah, you don't have to do it perfectly.
So where do we even begin? Let's dive into this mythic toilet,
Okay.
which is a very
It is.
intriguing concept.
Yeah, it's all about letting go of your old story,
Okay.
but not just metaphorically.
Right.
You're actually going to build a physical representation
Oh,
of that
oh, wow.
outdoors using natural materials.
So you're actually bringing the energy
Yes, you are.
into the physical world.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's incredibly powerful.
Okay. So how does this work?
So you choose objects,
Okay.
stones, sticks, leaves, whatever you feel drawn to.
Uh-huh.
And each piece will represent something from your past.
Okay.
It could be a person, an event, a limiting belief,
Right.
whatever you're ready to let go of.
So as those things come up over the next few days,
Yeah,
you add to it.
exactly. You keep adding to it. And as you place each object, you blow the old energy into it.
You're literally
Yeah,
breathing it into this physical.
yeah. And that breath work.
That's interesting.
It seems to be a recurring theme with a lot of these
Yeah.
shamanic practices.
Using the breath to really
To
clear it out.
Yeah.
So after 3 days of contemplating this mandala, do you call it a mandala?
You can call it a mandala.
Okay, so you contemplate this mandala.
You can even ask it questions for insights.
Oh,
Wow. And then after 3 days, the ritual culminates
Right.
with what's called a death arrow.
Death arrow.
Yeah.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Yeah. It's symbolic, of course.
Okay.
But you're going to choose one object from your creation.
Uh-huh.
You're going to imbue it with the intention of letting go.
Okay.
And you're either going to bury it or burn it,
Oh,
signifying the death of that old story.
wow. So there's a lot of symbolism.
A lot of symbolism.
Yeah.
And, Shaman John says there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Right.
You can personalize it.
Okay.
You can let your intuition guide you.
I like that. So
Yeah.
it makes it accessible to anyone,
Exactly.
even if you've never
Yeah,
worked with a shaman before.
exactly.
So now let's talk about this ancestor altar.
Okay.
You mentioned that it's used
Yes.
in specific situations.
So it's usually recommended after cutting energetic ties to ancestors or extracting their energy
Okay.
during a session.
Now I have to ask,
Yeah.
isn't creating an altar like inviting those energies back in?
It's not about inviting anything negative back in. It's more about creating a respectful space where that
Right.
energy can settle.
Okay.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
Like there's an invisible cord connecting you
Right.
to your ancestors.
Yeah.
And sometimes that cord can get all tangled up,
Okay.
which can drain your energy or
Yeah.
influence your emotions in a negative way.
So the altar helps to
Yeah, it's like
smooth out those tangles.
smoothing it out. Yeah.
Okay. So it's less about worship
Exactly.
and more about just creating a healthy boundary.
Healthy boundary, yeah.
So you might include pictures or...
Pictures, objects that remind you of them, candles, offerings,
Okay.
whatever feels appropriate to honor them,
Right.
while also acknowledging that
Yeah.
their energy doesn't need to directly influence you anymore.
I imagine this could be especially helpful if you've had,
Yeah,
a challenging relationship with certain ancestors.
absolutely.
And speaking of peace,
Okay.
Shaman John also suggests salt baths
Yes.
after a session. He compares the session to energetic surgery,
Yes, he does.
which I gotta say sounds intense.
It can be.
So salt baths are like
Yeah, they're like
a soothing balm
a soothing balm,
for
exactly.
your energy body to help you
To
recover.
recover, yeah.
Integrate the work.
Yeah, he recommends 3 baths within 2 weeks of the session
Okay.
just to help smooth and soothe your energy field.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does sound intense.
Yeah.
I could see how that would be helpful.
Some gentle energetic cleansing afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier that if someone's had like a soul retrieval or a destiny retrieval,
Yes.
there's specific rituals for that too.
Yes. That's where the dialogues come in.
Okay.
It's a way to further understand what came through during the retrieval.
So this is where you like get to talk to your soul part.
Not quite talking. It's
Yeah.
more of a written dialogue.
Oh, okay.
So you divide a piece of paper into 2 columns. One for you and one for the soul part or the gift or the power animal or even your destined self, depending on what the retrieval focused on.
And you just start writing?
Pretty much.
What kind of things do you write?
It can be very intuitive, but Shaman Jon offers some guiding questions.
Okay, like what?
Like, who are you? Why did you leave? What do you represent in my life? How can I best express you? That sort of thing.
So it's almost like having a conversation, but on paper.
Exactly.
I could see how that would be helpful in like integrating those.
It allows for a deeper level of communication and understanding.
Right.
And especially if you've had a destiny retrieval.
Sure.
This dialogue can help you understand how to step more fully into that future version of yourself.
Okay.
And take concrete steps towards it.
So we've got mandalas, we've got altars,
Yeah.
we've got salt baths, we've got soul dialogues. It's all very hands-on, tangible practices.
Yeah, it is.
What else does Shaman Jon recommend?
Well, speaking of that future self, if you've had a destiny retrieval,
Right.
creating a destiny altar can be a powerful way
Oh.
to anchor that vision into your life.
So it's like a vision board, but
Yeah, you could say that.
more spiritually focused.
Yeah, it's about creating a tangible representation of your desired reality.
Right.
Using images,
Yeah.
samples, objects,
Sure.
anything that evokes that feeling of that destiny.
Because it's not just about seeing it. It's about like
Exactly.
feeling it.
Feeling it, yeah. Tuning into that energy.
And this ties back into the concept of manifestation.
It does.
Shaman Jon talks a lot about that.
He does. He often talks about how the universe responds to
Yeah.
our dominant thoughts and vibrations.
Right. So it's about choosing thoughts that feel good and align with.
The reality you want to manifest.
So the Destiny Altar is kind of like this energetic magnet.
Yeah, think of it like a spiritual compass.
Okay.
That's constantly pointing you towards your truest north.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about ancestors. We've talked about destiny.
Yeah.
There's one more aspect of Shaman Jon's work that I'm really curious about, and that's the shadow work.
Yeah.
I got to say, it sounds a bit intimidating.
It can be challenging, but it's also incredibly empowering.
Okay.
Essentially, shadow work is about acknowledging and integrating the parts of ourselves that we usually try to hide or deny.
So the negative quiet behavior.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Shaman Jon suggests that these shadow aspects often get mirrored back to us through challenging relationships.
This shadow work concept is really intriguing. But I have to ask, aren't some people just jerks? Like, how do we know if it's really our shadow that we're seeing?
That's a great question.
Or just someone else's bad behavior?
It's important to discern.
Right.
And it's not about condoning hurtful behavior, but rather recognizing the potential for learning and growth that these challenging relationships often present.
Okay.
They can hold up a mirror.
Instead of blaming or resenting these people, we can try to see them as like teachers in a way.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as we do this inner work, we often find that the dynamic in the relationship shifts as well.
Interesting.
Either the person's behavior changes, or we find ourselves less reactive to it.
So if I'm constantly annoyed by someone who's always late, does that mean I have a hidden part of myself
It's possible.
that struggles with punctuality?
Or perhaps it triggers a deeper fear of, like, losing control or feeling disrespected.
Oh.
Shadow work is about exploring those connections.
Okay.
It's not always a direct one-to-one correlation.
It's about looking at the deeper meaning
Yeah.
behind our reactions
Yeah.
rather than just taking them.
Exactly, precisely. And by embracing our own shadow, we actually change the energy of the relationship.
Oh, wow.
It's like we're removing the fuel that was feeding the conflict.
That's incredible. It makes so much sense.
It must.
We're so quick to blame others for our unhappiness or frustration.
We are.
But what if the answers lie within ourselves?
That's the empowering message at the heart of Shaman Jon's teachings.
Yeah.
He encourages us to take responsibility for our own energy.
Right.
And recognize that lasting change starts within.
So how do we actually go about embracing our shadow?
It's a process that often involves self-reflection, mindfulness, even journaling.
Okay.
And when you find yourself triggered by someone, Shaman Jon suggests asking yourself a few key questions.
Like what?
Well, first, what specific behavior or quality in this person is bothering me?
Okay.
Then, have I ever exhibited this same behavior or quality, even in a subtle way?
Okay.
And finally, can I find any compassion or understanding for this aspect of myself, even if I don't condone the behavior?
So it's about getting honest with ourselves.
Yes.
And acknowledging those hidden parts.
Those hidden parts. Yeah.
That we usually prefer to ignore.
Exactly.
It sounds like a journey in itself.
It is a journey.
And as we bring those shadow aspects into the light of our awareness, then we can start to release the judgment and the shame.
The judgment and the shame, exactly.
That we've attached to them.
Yes.
And that's where the forgiveness comes in.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all human.
Right.
We all make mistakes. We all have aspects of ourselves that we're not proud of.
Yeah.
So instead of denying or suppressing those parts,
we
can choose to embrace them with love and acceptance.
Okay. My mind is officially blown.
Yeah.
This shadow work concept is deep.
It is deep.
It makes me realize that relationships can be incredible opportunities for growth and healing if we approach them with the right mindset.
That's the beauty of Shaman Jon's work.
Yeah.
It empowers us to see the potential for transformation in every aspect of our lives.
Right.
Even the most challenging ones.
Speaking of challenges, Shaman Jon also mentions a fire ceremony.
Yes.
And a decision-making tool involving love and fear. What can you tell me about that?
Well, he doesn't go into detail about the Four Winds fire ceremony itself.
Okay.
But he does offer a very simple yet profound tool for making big decisions.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's called the love versus fear tool.
Love versus fear.
Yeah, and he suggests taking a piece of paper,
okay,
dividing it into two columns.
Okay.
One labeled love and the other fear.
Okay, so far so good. I'm following.
All right.
What happens next? So you have your piece of paper with your two columns.
Yes.
Then what?
Then you look at the decision you're wrestling with.
Okay.
And you just list all the reasons for and against it under the appropriate column.
So like if you're considering a career change, for example.
Right.
Fear of financial instability would go under fear.
Exactly.
But then passion for this new field would go under love.
Yeah, and often you'll find that your initial impulse is driven by fear.
Right.
But as you dig deeper, you might uncover a more heart-centered desire that's been masked by that fear.
Okay, so let's say I'm using this.
Yeah.
And both columns seem equally compelling.
Mm-hmm.
How do I break the tie?
That's when you have to go a bit deeper.
Okay.
Ask yourself, which path feels more expansive, more aligned with your soul's purpose?
Right.
Which one lights you up inside?
Okay.
Even if it also makes you a bit nervous.
So it's about choosing growth over comfort.
Exactly.
Even when it's scary.
Fear is a natural part of life.
Yeah.
Especially when you're stretching yourself and stepping outside of familiar territory.
But it doesn't have to be the deciding factor.
It doesn't.
This is such a simple yet powerful tool.
It is.
It reminds you that you always have a choice.
Yes, you do.
You can choose to act from a place of love.
Yeah.
Even when fear is present.
And as you practice making decisions in this way, you become more attuned to your intuition.
Okay.
You learn to trust that inner compass.
This has been an incredible deep dive into Shaman Jon Rasmussen's work.
It's fascinating stuff.
And it seems like these rituals are all about bringing unconscious material into conscious awareness.
Exactly.
Whether it's old stories or ancestral energy or shadow aspects or even your soul's purpose.
Yeah. It's about shining a light.
It's about shining a light.
On those hidden parts of yourself.
And becoming a more whole and integrated person.
Exactly. And I think what's so appealing about Shaman Jon's approach is that he offers very tangible, practical ways to do that.
Right.
These aren't just abstract concepts. They're tools you can actually use to create real change in your life.
What I'm taking away from this is that true transformation starts with facing those parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
We'd rather keep hidden.
It's a challenge, but it's also incredibly empowering.
It is empowering.
And it's a journey that's available to everyone.
Right.
You don't have to be a shaman or a spiritual guru.
Right. You don't have to be an expert.
Yeah, anyone can do this work.
It's about taking responsibility for your own
energy, your own growth, your own healing.
Thank you for taking us on this deep dive.
It's a pleasure.
It's given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our listener feels the same way.
I hope so.
And to you listening, if any of this resonated with you, I encourage you to do some more research on Shaman Jon Rasmussen.
Yeah, or explore other shamanic practices that call to you.
Remember, the most profound transformations
Yes.
often start with the courage to look inward.